Welcome everyone. I generally do not follow American politics because for the majority of time, the politicians are either abusing one another or they are talking about race. However, when this video was dispatched to me for my reaction, I had to say something. Please support me by subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much indeed. Let us continue. Some people question Kamala's racial identity due to her mixed race. However, mark this. Nobody questions Trump's identity despite being mixed race. A German father and Irish mother. Harris is of both Indian and Jamaican descent. Her mother was born in India, and her father was born in Jamaica. Despite this, Harris identifies as both Black and Indian American. The confusion often stems from misunderstandings about racial and ethnic identities. In the U.S. Census, the category of Black or African American includes individuals from various nationalities and ethnic groups originating from the Black racial groups of Africa, including Jamaica. Unfortunately, misinformation and misrepresentation on social media have also contributed to these beliefs. Whether Kamala is Indian or Jamaican or African should not be a problem at this juncture. The fact that she is an American should be enough. When it comes to her race, truly who cares? The majority of American citizens are mixed race, and that is a fact. Truly who cares? As long as Kamala is an American without dual citizenship, that should be enough. Kamala Harris is going through exactly what President Obama was put through because of being mixed race. He was asked to produce his birth certificate. Just look at the double standards. Trump is mixed race and he does not need to produce his birth certificate. Let us carry on. Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, has a diverse and accomplished background. She has served as a United States Senator, Attorney General of California, District Attorney of San Francisco. Her career highlights her intelligence, dedication, and capability in various roles. Now in the video you will hear Judge Joe Brown run Kamala through the mill. Now, it is imperative to remember that criticism of public figures is common, and opinions about Harris vary widely. Some critics argue that her political skills and instincts may be questionable, while others highlight her achievements and resilience. It is always important to consider multiple perspectives and look at her entire career and contributions when forming an opinion. Another point worth mentioning before we go to the video is, Kamala Harris is noted for repeating phrases in her speeches, which has sometimes led to criticism and downright mockery. This repetition can be a rhetorical strategy to emphasize key points and ensure that her message is clear and memorable. However, it can also be perceived as a lack of spontaneity or depth in her responses. Public speaking, especially in high-stakes political environments, is challenging, and different speakers have unique styles. Kamala's approach might be aimed at reinforcing her points to diverse audiences, ensuring that her core messages are understood. Public figures often face scrutiny for their speaking styles, and what might be seen as a flaw by some can be a deliberate technique by others. Okay, do you think this impacts her effectiveness as a communicator? Let us take a listen to the video.
She lacked professional competence, and she worked on it by hiking up her hemline when she needed influence rather than research. I was out in California for 15 years doing my show when she was at her peak, and she had a reputation amongst the trial lawyers of being lazy. She'd just hike her skirt up and try to flirt, and she wasn't that good in the courtroom, if not pretty bad in the courtroom. So I'm not surprised at what she does. She's 60 years old, and I think listening to her word salad and the way she talks, I think she's got early onset dementia and also some problems with menopausal complications. That's that. You see, the day is going to be tomorrow, so since it's going to be tomorrow, today we have tomorrow, which is why we are now. Like, what did you say? They have something in mind, but they cannot cognate getting all the way through it, which is why she's famous for this word salad garbage, and she doesn't make a bit of sense. I think since she's only 60, she's actually on a worse track than Biden was. Biden is 20-some years older than her, and he has been senile for a long time. Now, about 5 or 6 years ago, when did they start ramping up to do this? 2019. Okay, I was saying Biden has been a failure his whole adult career, a second-rate, third-string player. He's in the game, so he wants to make a name for himself. I considered him for years poor urban trailer park trash. And he's a crook. He's a third stringer. Now, what I said he was going to do is he probably wants to claim fame for being the first person to see to it that a woman got to be president. And what I predicted, I'm slightly wrong on it, was that he was going to get in, try to get elected, and if he got one term, try to get elected for a second one. And then halfway through his term, when he had served 2 years, to retire or resign in her favor. So under the 22nd Amendment, what happens is she can serve for the final 2 years for somebody and then be elected twice more. So that woman would be able to serve 10 years, second only to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who got elected to 4 terms before they put the amendment in place so you couldn't. Now, that said, I think, and my major at UCLA was political science. My analysis is they picked the weakest somebody they could as a figurehead, somebody who had some apparent minority status, which she does not. And what goes on is that you get her, everybody that is everybody would be afraid to go against her because of what she can pass herself off as. And then you get somebody that's easy to control because she's lazy, because she is becoming incoherent, and because she's always tried to do the casting couch to get where she wants. Now, the problem is that'll get somebody to a certain level quickly, but you can't get past that level if you don't have competence and talent. So my thing about it is if I'm crude about it, in this city years ago, I used to represent a whole bunch of pimps and hoes, and I know a hoe when I see one. And I say this, I don't care, women, you do what you want to do if you want to have recreational sex, but when you do the casting couch or anything else for professional purposes to get paid or advance, you up. And she's old hoe. And the problem is what is she supposed to do? One of her sycophant slaves comes up and unwraps her in a carpet naked at Putin's feet, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm Julius Caesar." He said, "No, I got better stuff here already. Plus, I don't want you anyway, you old woman." Or Xi Jinping, is he supposed to be impressed? She's doing word salad. Well, we're here today because China and the U.S. are here today, and that's why we have to agree on what we're doing here today. Like, fool, what did you guys say? Did you say anything? And I've never seen such a salacious mess as I've seen out of her. I think of One West Bank. I had some pretty good properties out in California at one point in time. And I know I had 3 neighbors who had good properties. It was a place called Ojai, California. And they got caught up about 15, 16 years ago, like a lot of people did in that mortgage bundling scam stuff that was going on. And there was a bank called One West Bank responsible for it, which was owned by George Soros. The Mnuchin that you have out of the Obama administration was Mnuchin, who was the CEO of One West Bank. Well, there were approximately 1,200 counts of indictments returned against Mnuchin and One West Bank in various counties in California. Well, Mnuchin and Soros financed and arranged and sponsored Kamala to run for Attorney General of California. They got her elected. She got in, and using the authority she had, she promptly consolidated all 5,200 counts and dismissed them. And a couple of weeks later, Soros sold One West Bank for $4.2 billion. So after that, they got together and got her finance and got everything organized and made the connections for her, and she got elected to U.S. Senator. Willie Brown made the initial contacts and arrangements so she could get elected as district attorney for San Francisco. She didn't do a very good job. She had a reputation for giving out the stiffest sentences in the United States of America for simple possession of marijuana in San Francisco, for God's sakes. But it was only to young black men. She's not a parent, never had any children, but she went off on this campaign to lock parents up, some of whom actually were shown to have dropped their children off at the school, but they played hooky, so she was putting them in jail. I know my in-laws, now late in-laws because they're dead, and their fine daughter that I was married to, we were divorced. She got a whole lot of money, but anyway, out of me. What wound up happening was there was a liquor store they like to patronize on the way home, and it was a good liquor store, but it got held up a lot, so Kamala's solution was not go get the crooks, but close down the liquor store so nobody would be troubled by it. See, that kind of philosophy, or you've got the serial killer who's got 6 victims, and the families are writing protest letters to her, not hurry up and do something, not why you giving the guy such a light deal, is why wouldn't you let this man plead guilty to life without parole instead of delaying it for 7 years, trying to make political hay out of it? I was caught up in a thing where this woman who was supposed to be a financial specialist wound up embezzling a lot, $1.5 million from me, about $15 million from some other black celebrities. And most of it was in the San Francisco area, not LA where I was. She consolidated the cases up there in San Francisco, took 5 years to resolve it, let her plead out not the $15 million of embezzlement, but $35,000. The sentence was 5 years in the penitentiary, 4.5 years suspended, 5 years probation. The woman wound up sitting on a bench outside Sybil Branch, which is the women's detention facility in LA County, for 5.5 hours. That's all the time she served, made no restitution. And I'm through with it now. I don't care on her behalf. Like, where's our money? What did you do here? You didn't even consult with us. You did this on a surprise basis. That's $15 million gone. What happened? It's the kind of thing she would do, Steve. So it's like, that was not a good professional performance. And then she was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator, and now she becomes black. But, I met her daddy, a fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors, how did she get to be black? Now, a little side story. When I had my show, let's say this has been 26 years ago, I had 2 beautiful women that I thought were sisters on the show. And they laughed one time when we all went to a happy hour and said, "You think we're black, don't you?" "Yeah, aren't you?" "No, we're Hindu." One of them said, "My mother's a Hindu Brahmin caste. My father was Hindu warrior caste. He took an oath to the family to protect her. They fell in love, eloped, and now we got a death warrant on us. We can't go back to India." So, yeah, and then they gave me 2 books. The guys were Hindu, and they were very dark, but they cut their hair off close, grew beards, and started dressing and acting black, and they got financial aid. One of them, I think, went through medical school that way, masquerading for being black. Somebody else did it, so she went to Howard, And by the way, she told one big lie when she was talking about she got busted because of something Biden did when she was running against him. Well, the yearbook that she put out there that you can still get online from her high school in Canada shows she went from kindergarten through 12th grade in Canada, never went to school in the United States of America. She was born, by the way, in the same hospital that my ex-wife was born in, the same 12-month period, and my late mother-in-law was in fact a pediatric nurse in that hospital when Kamala was born. And the birth certificate that she has is interesting because the confusion comes from a mistake. On the birth certificate, it lists the mother's race as Caucasian, national origin India, and religion Hindu. For the father, it does not list national origin. It does not list religion. It does not list anything about that, but where it says race, they put national origin in Jamaica by mistake. Now, if you've ever been to Jamaica and you go over to St. Elizabeth Parish, you see all the high, bright, and white. They live